Good afternoon, Kalispera σε όλους. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. It's a pity we haven't been able to have this session physically in Cyprus, but nevertheless, I'm sure that we'll have the opportunity next time round. Well, COVID-19 was actually something like a big pause on the world, and a number of things have been described in previous sessions. But in terms of summarizing the impact, we've seen the huge impact on our industry. We have a massive decline in a very short period of time in terms of demand, 20 to 30 million barrels a day of demand destruction, which hasn't come back as yet. So that's the obvious impact. However, from a corporate point of view, I think we should be highlighting the issues and the challenges for a company of our size and our breadth of activities in all of the region in maintaining all of our people safe. We have close to 10,000 people in our ecosystem, if you will, which they needed to be kept safe. We needed to keep the security of supply in the markets to avoid having a health crisis turning into an energy crisis. So that was an important part, and also to stay afloat in terms of financial liquidity. Last but not least, I think it was an opportunity for companies like ourselves to demonstrate a much more strong community interaction program, which we did in most countries that we operate.
And I don't know if you managed to hear some of the previous panel, Mr. Shiamishis, but we talked quite a lot there about climate change, among other things, and the transition to what the European Union is hoping to be net zero by 2050. And of course, we have the green, the new green plans of the European Commission. They obviously have very big impact on a company like yours. And I wonder whether you have thoughts on how a company like yours is moving towards what you might call to be transition from fossil fuels.
No, that's clearly a big challenge. If I may share a couple of pages on the group overall strategy, because that is something that we've talked about quite a lot. Just give me a second, and I'll make sure that we have this. I don't know if you can see it.
I'm sure we will, if you share it.
Yeah, I just did, but for some reason it's not working.
Technology is not our strong point.
It's gonna come. It's gonna come.
There you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Hellenic Petroleum is a bit of a misnomer for our group, because we do have our stronghold in oil with significant operations, but we do have power and gas with 800 megawatts of CCGTs. We trade in gas and energy. And recently, we have grown in the renewable space as well, with about 1.2 gigawatt of portfolio in various stages, of course. It's not in operation. However, I'm proud to say that we do have the fourth largest photovoltaic plant in Europe, which is under construction in northern Greece. So that's the petroleum part. The Hellenic part is also a bit of a misnomer, because we are really a regional player. We export about 60% of our production. So we're quite engaged in this regional discussion. Now, in terms of the green agenda, it was quite interesting to hear the previous speakers saying, I made some notes about somebody mentioning that why not leave gas in the ground? I think it was you.
Is it with me?
Yes, as part of this agenda, and a number of other comments about how relevant this discussion is. I need to make 2 points here. First of all, even in the most aggressive scenario, in the next 20 years, 50% of energy will be hydrocarbons based. And that is very important to keep in mind. So I would not rush to strike off oil and gas from the energy map. The second word that we need to keep in mind is the transition process. It's not flicking a switch. You cannot move from stage A to stage B without actually going through a transition phase. So what we are doing is effectively accelerating this transition from what has traditionally been an oil-based group to something which will incorporate cleaner energies. Our strategy and our target is by the end of 2030, so in 10 years from today, to reduce our CO2 footprint by about 50%. And I think we're on track to achieve that.
And the other sort of big theme for this panel and this discussion with you is about what we are calling the digital transformation. Much of your company is quite a traditional company, but how does digital technologies contribute to the future?
Well, I think the most obvious example for digital transformation is what we have been living in the last 6 months. I think most people have learned to work from home. I see that most of the speakers are actually sitting in their home offices. So that is as close to a transformational business model as I have seen one. But in terms of moving forward our industry, which is a big numbers industry, digital transformation becomes very important. And I think that we have a number of examples to share in terms of how we run our business, how we use AI and predictive modeling, how we use big data analytics in order to make the decisions become so much better in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, and economic performance. On the other hand, I would probably say that the digital transformation is a huge opportunity because it is something which doesn't necessarily require huge amounts of capital investment. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, we see that as an opportunity, not only for Greece, but also for Cyprus. And if I may offer an example here, we've launched a regional, if you will, digital transformation lab with the cooperation with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, which will employ a number of people mainly based in Greece, and it will tackle our activities in all of the regions, in the Balkans and the East Med, in terms of digital transformation projects. Well, Cyprus is actually quite strong on that because we are cooperating with a Cyprus-based company, Hyperion, which is helping us to develop optimization algorithms for our petrochemicals plant. So I see that as a big opportunity for Cyprus, given the very high level of human capital and educational level that the island has, to take if you will, a regional championship role in that respect.
Very interesting. I was going to ask you as a final question or any further comments on your company and Cyprus. Cyprus is more of an energy player than it was because of the East Mediterranean. But do you have any particular messages for Cyprus for the future? This could be my last question.
Yes. Actually, there are 3 points which I think are important to highlight. And we can bring our expertise in Hellenic Petroleum and a market which Greece is a larger market and has gone through a lot of the changes that Cyprus will be going through with a time precedent, if you will, 10 to 20 years ago. So first of all, it's an energy transition game. So Cyprus is going through an energy transition game. It's going from 100% oil-based economy to something which will involve gas and renewables. It's going from 100% state-owned energy provider to something which is a more open market with private companies and eventually a target model. It's opening up its connections with other markets, which means that Cyprus will need to develop a different set of skills. And that will involve trading skills, risk management skills, and of course, regulatory skills, because that is something which is a highly regulated market. So in that respect, we are, if you will, able to support this process. The second item, which is a little bit more tangible, is that as we embark in this transition agenda and we are building a new business portfolio in renewables and other services, Cyprus is an area where we are interested to invest. We are the number one liquid fuels provider in the island. And we see no reason why we should not be investing in material opportunities in renewables, bring e-mobility solution in the island, and effectively accelerate this transition in terms of product offering and services. Finally, I would go back to the digital transformation, and I would invite our colleagues and friends in Cyprus to take that seriously. We will be engaging in active investigation of opportunities in Cyprus to use it as a hub in order to be able to capitalize on the very high human capital, as I said, that is available in Cyprus.
That's very interesting. And my personal experience of Cyprus is that it ought to be strong in solar as well one day. So maybe there is a future there, as there is in Greece.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much for your time. That was very interesting, and good luck for the future. Thank you for supporting our conference.
Thank you very much.